So you're saying the most fearsome predatory species in the known cosmos is what? Concealed, defunct, a figment of imagination? Admiral Kivlox narrowed his multifaceted eyes at his intelligence officer. Lieutenant Zrixner shifted uncomfortably, his tendrils coiling around the datapad. None of the options provided, sir. They are responding to their digital correspondence. They are what? Digital correspondence, sir. Electronic missives. By all accounts, they have been quite engaged. The massive Cloroxian admiral slammed a claw down on the command console. Engaged! Engaged! The Velar Dominion has devastated 17 star systems. They've subjugated the Andromeda Trade Federation, dismantled the Galactic Council, and enslaved the entire Qualaxian race. And these humans can't be troubled to respond because they're engaged. Not precisely, sir. Zixanir's voice fell to a near whisper. I've been informed they acknowledged receipt of our distress signals. All 6,142 of them. They're in the process of addressing our request. Addressing? It's been 14 cycles. Yes, sir. They, conveyed their apologies for the delay. Rebecca Walsh fixed her gaze on the flashing notification on her monitor. The small red icon displayed 6,142 unread messages, all marked urgent intergalactic distress. Hey, Milo, she called out, not bothering to look away from her screen. Did you ever get around to that alien invasion situation? Across the office, Milo Kumar groaned audibly, spinning in his ergonomic chair. Oh, God, is that still outstanding? I assume Naveen was managing it. Naveen is on paternity leave, remember? His twins were born last month. Right. The adorable ones with the little antenna hats. Milo wheeled his chair over to Rebecca's terminal. How dire is it? Scale of 1 to 10. Rebecca scrolled through the latest message. Let's see. Dominion warships have decimated the outer colonies. Billions of lives extinguished. Complete societal breakdown imminent. I'm going to assess it as an 8. Huh? That's not ideal. Milo scratched his beard. But is it drop everything and alert the president dire, or fit it into next week's agenda dire? Well, based on this, they've been transmitting messages for 14 galactic cycles. Milo winced. What's that equate to in Earth time? Approximately 8 months. Oh, that's unequivocally a customer service breach. Dimitri's going to be livid. Rebecca sighed, opening a new requisition form. I'll prioritize it for immediate attention. Should I loop in Fletcher's team, or is this strictly a military matter? Better loop in everyone. Diplomatic Corps, Space Force, the Science Division. Oh, and Henderson in accounting. You know how he becomes when we authorize fleet deployment without notifying him in advance. Good call. Rebecca's fingers danced across the keyboard. Remember that time we liberated the Proyon cluster and he had to retroactively approve the fuel expenditures? 3 weeks of passive-aggressive emails regarding proper channels. Milo shuddered. Never again. The Reclar Supreme Commander towered over the captured Cloroxian vessel's bridge. His massive armored exoskeleton shimmered beneath the emergency lighting, barbed appendages clicking rhythmically against the metal floor as he approached Admiral Clocks. Your resistance is both pointless and tiresome. The Velar's translator device rendered his screech into comprehensible language. Surrender the coordinates of the human homeworld, and I will contemplate granting your crew a swift demise. Admiral Kivlox, despite being bound in neural restraints, managed a clicking laugh. You desire to locate the humans? Be my guest. Spare me the aggravation of dealing with their bureaucracy. The Velar commander leaned in close, his bioluminescent eyes pulsing with malice. You find this amusing? The humans are the only species to have ever vanquished a Velar armada. Their weapons technology is centuries beyond anything we've encountered. Their tactical genius is legendary. And yet they have abandoned the galaxy to our conquest. Abandoned? No, they're merely addressing our request. Addressing? The Velkar's voice modulator struggled to convey the mixture of bewilderment and disdain. Yes, quite meticulously, I'm told. Clocks's mandibles formed what could have been interpreted as a smile. They must complete the appropriate paperwork. So what exactly are we facing here? General Alexa Foster leaned forward in her chair, her eyes sweeping across the holographic display in the center of the Pentagon's Extraterrestrial Response Unit conference room. Dr. Raj Gupta, head of xenobiology, adjusted his glasses. The Reclar are essentially hyper-evolved arthropods. Think of them as space locusts, but with nuclear armaments and an intricate religious belief system centered around consumption. Space locusts, Foster repeated flatly, with nukes and religion. That's a simplification, but yes, Gupta swiped through several gruesome images of devastated worlds. They strip planets of resources, enslave useful species, and exterminate the remainder. They've been progressing through the Orion Arm for the past decade. Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Barnes raised his hand. Quick question, why are we only hearing about this now? Rebecca Walsh cleared her throat nervously. There was a communication oversight. Their distress signals were routed to the General Assistance inbox rather than the imminent threat queue. For 8 months, Barnes looked incredulous. In our defense, Milo added, we received numerous alerts labeled as galaxy-ending catastrophes. Last month, the Regalians sent 16 urgent messages because they couldn't figure out how to update their trade agreement software. Foster pinched the bridge of her nose. So, while we've been ignoring our inbox, these bugs have conquered half the local cluster. 17 systems, Rebecca confirmed, but they're still 6 months from reaching Earth's vicinity. Well, that's something at least. Foster turned to the military attaches. What assets do we have available for immediate deployment? Admiral Wilson consulted his tablet. The 5th Deep Space Fleet is on training exercises near Proxima Centauri. The 3rd Expeditionary Force is returning from that diplomatic mission to the Pleiadian Alliance, and we have approximately 24 autonomous defense platforms we could repurpose. That's it. It's February, ma'am. Wilson shrugged. Everyone exhausted their combat budget in December to avoid losing it for the next fiscal year. We've got a minimal crew until the new funding becomes available. Foster stared at the ceiling for a long moment. You're telling me we have to save the galaxy on a tight budget because of accounting regulations? Welcome to government work, Milo muttered. Actually, Rebecca interjected, there might be another option. She pulled up a different file. The Cloroxians mentioned a third-party contractor they've engaged with previously. Apparently, they possess experience with the Reclar and might be amenable to assisting, provided we handle the paperwork correctly. Foster's eyes narrowed. What kind of contractor? They refer to themselves as the Collective, sort of a mercenary group but with superior public relations. Great, Foster sighed. Space mercenaries. Can this become any more complicated? Henderson from accounting chose that moment to enter, carrying a formidably thick binder. I heard we're authorizing an emergency military response, he inquired cheerfully. I prepared the expenditure forms, will require signatures and triplicate, and I'll need a complete inventory of every photon torpedo you intend to utilize. Foster dropped her head to the table with a thud. The Verklar invasion fleet advanced like a plague of mechanical locusts through the Cygnus X-1 star system, their ships consuming asteroids and minor planets for raw materials. Aboard his command vessel, Supreme Commander Vrakor reviewed the latest intelligence reports with increasing frustration. Still nothing? He demanded. His subordinate bobbed nervously. No, Supreme One. The humans have acknowledged receipt of our ultimatum but have not yet responded with their surrender terms. It's been 14 planetary rotations. Rexcorp crushed a nearby control panel with one massive claw. Are they not taking our threat seriously? They sent this. The subordinate cautiously extended a data tablet. Vrakor snatched it and read aloud. Thank you for your interest in conquering Earth. Your threat has been received and is important to us. Due to a high volume of invasion attempts, response times are longer than usual. Please do not submit multiple extinction threats as this may delay processing. You are number 47 in the queue. The Supreme Commander's exoskeleton quivered with rage. Is this some form of psychological warfare? Unknown, Supreme One. Our cultural analysts suggest it might be what humans term bureaucracy. No species can endure with such inefficiency, Vrakor roared. Send another ultimatum. Inform them we will destroy one of their colony worlds every solar rotation until they respond properly. Actually, Supreme One, the subordinate hesitated. They included an addendum regarding that. He pointed to fine print at the bottom of the message. Vrakor squinted at the tiny text. Attempts to expedite response through destruction of UEF territory will result in the application being moved to our hostile entities queue with extended processing times of 6 to 8 weeks. For the first time in his long, conquest-filled life, the Supreme Commander felt a twinge of uncertainty. The collective has accepted our contract, Rebecca announced, entering the command center with a stack of digital tablets. Though they did have some stipulations. General Foster looked up from the tactical display, such as, they desire exclusive salvage rights to any Reckler technology, a 15% commission on all liberated resources, and Rebecca Grimst in all press releases. Press releases? Foster blinked. We're attempting to prevent galactic genocide, not launch a movie. Apparently they're passionate about brand recognition. Rebecca handed over a tablet. They've included their logo and preferred font guidelines. Milo leaned over Foster's shoulder. Ooh, nice typography. Very sleek. Foster ignored him. When can they deploy? That's the good news. Rebecca's face brightened. They were already mobilizing based on the Cloroxian contract. They're rendezvousing with our 5th Fleet in 6 hours. Finally, something's proceeding in our favor. Foster turned back to the tactical display where red indicators depicting Verlar fleet movements were spreading like a rash across the star chart. What's our first target? Admiral Wilson brought up a detailed view of a binary star system. The Velar have established their forward command post in the Epsilon Indy system. If we can disrupt their communication hub, it will impede their advance and afford us time to evacuate the threatened colonies. Good. Make it happen. Foster turned to Dr. Gupta. Anything new on potential vulnerabilities we can exploit? Actually, yes. Gupta pulled up a biochemical analysis. We've been studying the Reclar physiological data provided by the Cloraxians. Their exoskeletons contain high concentrations of a compound similar to our terrestrial chitin, but with a unique molecular structure that renders them incredibly resilient to energy weapons. That's a strength, not a weakness, Barnes pointed out. True, but this particular form of chitin possesses an unexpected vulnerability. Gupta's eyes gleamed with scientific excitement. It breaks down when exposed to a specific frequency of ultrasonic vibration. Milo perked up. Are you suggesting we can defeat the most terrifying conquering force in the galaxy with the equivalent of a dog whistle? A very powerful, precisely calibrated dog whistle, Gupta clarified. But essentially, yes. Rebecca was already typing furiously. I'll notify R&D to initiate modifications to our weapon systems, and I'll prepare the requisition forms, Henderson added, helpfully, producing yet another binder. Foster ignored the collective groan from the military personnel. How quickly can we adapt our existing armaments? The collective might be able to assist with that, Rebecca suggested. According to their profile, they specialize in unconventional weapons technology. Perfect. Set up a secure channel. Foster stood, straightening her uniform. It's time we demonstrated to these Reckler why it's a poor decision to invade Earth, even if we are a bit tardy with our emails. The meeting with the collective representative was not unfolding as anticipated. For one, he was human. Marcus Blackwood, the tall, scarred man, introduced himself with a casual salute. Formerly Captain UF Special Tactics, now Chief Operations Officer for the collective. Foster stared at him. You're not what we were expecting. Allow me to guess. Blackwood's mouth quirked into a half-smile. You were envisioning tentacles, glowing eyes, perhaps some dramatic bioluminescence, something of that nature. Yeah, we encounter that frequently. He tapped the holoprojector, summoning a series of tactical displays. The collective is predominantly human, actually. Ex-military, scientists who couldn't secure ethical approval for their research, engineers who grew weary of constructing phones when they could be constructing starships. Space mercenaries, Barnes muttered. We prefer private security contractors, Blackwood corrected without looking up. With a side business in advanced R&D, speaking of which, he tossed a small metallic sphere onto the conference table, where it hovered a few inches above the surface. Your ultrasonic weapon, already calibrated to the velar exoskeleton frequency. Gupta reached for it with undisguised curiosity. How did you adapt it so swiftly? We only transmitted the spec 6 hours ago. We've fought Freckler previously. Blackwood shrugged. Discovered that weakness roughly 3 years ago during a skirmish near the Perseus arm. Foster frowned. And you didn't deem it appropriate to share this information with the Earth Defense? We filed the appropriate reports. Blackwood's expression turned pointedly neutral. They're probably still residing in someone's inbox. Rebecca and Milo suddenly found the ceiling captivating. Right. Foster moved on. What's the effective range on these devices? Approximately 50 millimeters for direct physiological impact, but the true beauty lies in what transpires subsequently. Blackwood grinned. All teeth and no humor. Their exoskeletons commence to microfracture. It doesn't eliminate them instantaneously, but renders them vulnerable to conventional armaments. Plus, it inflicts excruciating pain. Humane, Foster noted dryly. More humane than what they inflicted upon the Quilaxians. Blackwood's face hardened. I was present for the aftermath. Trust me, these bugs warrant everything they receive. An uncomfortable silence enveloped the room. Milo eventually broke in. Do we possess a sufficient quantity of these sonic thingies for the entire fleet? We'll have 5,000 units delivered to your ships within 48 hours, Blackwood confirmed. My engineers are also transmitting schematics so your personnel can manufacture more. And the cost? Henderson asked nervously. Blackwood waved a dismissive hand. Consider it a professional courtesy. The real profits lie in the salvage anyway. Foster nodded slowly. Then I believe we're prepared to proceed with operation planning. Actually, Blackwood held up a finger, there's one more element you should be aware of. The Vies-Claire, they're terrified of humans. What? Several voices spoke simultaneously. Oh yeah, we're like their cultural bogeyman. There's an entire religious prophecy concerning the world takers who traverse between stars, led by the Death Speakers. He chuckled. Apparently our habit of completing forms before obliterating our enemies genuinely freaks them out. They perceive it as some form of death ritual. Rebecca blinked. Our bureaucracy frightens them. Ironically, yes. They're a hive-oriented species with a strict command structure. The notion that we would delay military action to file paperwork is utterly alien to them. They interpret it as a sign of unimaginable confidence. Blackwood leaned forward, which provides me with an idea for how we might conclude this without a full-scale war. Supreme Commander Vrakor was not having a productive cycle. Firstly, the humans had failed to properly acknowledge his ultimatum. Subsequently, his forward scouts had detected unusual activity at the edge of controlled space. Movement patterns that corresponded to historical records of human fleet formations. And now his communication officer was reporting the strangest development yet. They wished to schedule a meeting. Vrayor's mandibles clicked in confusion. Yes, Supreme One. They have transmitted a formal request for a preliminary negotiation conference to discuss our territorial expansion proposal. The officer's antenna quivered nervously. They've included several possible dates and requested that we confirm our availability. This is preposterous! Vra slammed a barbed appendage against his command throne. We do not negotiate. We conquer. There's more, Supreme One. They've requested that we complete these forms. The officer transferred a document to the main display screen. It's called a Pre-Invasion Assessment and Resource Allocation Questionnaire. Vrakor stared at the document in disbelief. It contained hundreds of fields requesting detailed information about Freckler invasion strategies, fleet composition, resource requirements, and long-term occupation plans. Is this some form of jest? He hissed. Our intelligence analysts believe it may be part of their death ritual, Supreme One, another officer suggested. The humans are known to document everything. It is said they once delayed responding to a Goran assault because they were still processing the paperwork from a previous conflict, and they prevailed in that conflict. They obliterated the entire Gorvan species. Supreme One, there are rumors they retain the documentation as trophies. Vrakor's multifaceted eyes narrowed as he studied the questionnaire more carefully. Section 24B asked respondents to list all known technical and biological vulnerabilities of their species for catering and accommodation purposes. They cannot possibly expect us to complete this, he muttered. The message indicates that failure to submit the completed form will result in our invasion request being deprioritized, the communication officer noted. We are not requesting an invasion, we are executing one. Vrayor's exoskeleton vibrated with fury. Send word to the fleet. Accelerate our timeline. I desire our forces at the human colony on Proxima Centauri B within one cycle. Let's observe how they process that. They've taken the bait, Blackwood announced, striding into the command center with a satisfied grin. Vlar fleet is advancing toward Proxima at full speed, precisely as predicted. Foster looked up from the holographic display. You sound remarkably pleased about an imminent attack on a human colony. A colony that was fully evacuated 3 days ago, Blackwood reminded her, and whose orbit is now bristling with cloaked defense platforms equipped with our sonic disruptors. Still risky, Barnes commented. What if they decide to merely bombard the planet from orbit? Not their style, Blackwood shook his head. Verar are all about resource acquisition. They'll desire to capture infrastructure intact, establish a beachhead. It's like clockwork. The first wave will be shock troops and landing craft, succeeded by resource assessment teams. Rebecca frowned. You genuinely do possess extensive knowledge about them. Let's merely state that the collective has extensive field experience. Blackwood's expression darkened momentarily before he continued. Besides, we've incorporated a slight additional incentive to draw them in close. What kind of incentive? Foster asked suspiciously. Blackwood's smile returned. We may have left some highly intriguing classified documents in the colony's main database. Completely fabricated, of course, but containing just enough accurate information to appear legitimate, including some tantalizing details regarding a revolutionary new human technology being developed there. And they'll believe that? Milo looked skeptical. Information that seems carelessly secured is invariably more credible than information freely provided. Blackwood shrugged. Old intelligence trick. Foster studied him thoughtfully. You know, for someone who departed Earth Defense, you're remarkably willing to assist us. Who asserts that I departed by choice? Blackwood's smile didn't extend to his eyes. Let's just say some of us were aware of the Reklar threat long before your analysts caught on. When we failed to persuade the bureaucracy to take action, we sought alternative avenues. Before Foster could react, alarms echoed throughout the command center. A Verar fleet has entered the Proxima system. Admiral Wilson reported 87 vessels, primarily destroyers with support craft. Right on schedule, Blackwood remarked with a nod. Time to spring the trap. The Battle of Proxima Centauri lasted exactly 27 minutes. It commenced with the Reklar landing force descending toward the seemingly defenseless colony. The instant their ships entered the atmosphere, thousands of previously concealed defense satellites activated, bombarding the invaders with precisely calibrated ultrasonic waves. The effect was immediate and devastating. Velkar shock troops, known throughout the galaxy for their fearlessness, suddenly experienced excruciating pain as their exoskeletons began to crack. Landing craft plummeted as pilots lost control. Ground forces collapsed, writhing in agony. When the second wave arrived to aid their beleaguered comrades, they encountered the combined might of Earth's Fifth Fleet and the collective's battle cruisers emerging from the dark side of the planet. With their natural armor compromised by the sonic weapons, the Reklar ships offered minimal resistance. Supreme Commander Vrakor, witnessing the unfolding disaster from his command vessel at the edge of the system, faced a decision he had never encountered in his centuries of conquest: retreat. All vessels, disengage and regroup at fallback point Epsilon, he commanded, his voice modulator barely masking his rage. This was merely a probing attack. The real invasion is yet to come. As his remaining ships limped away from the killing field, a message flashed across his communication screen. Thank you for your recent invasion attempt. We have processed your application and regret to inform you that it does not meet our current standards for planetary conquest. Please find attached Form 5592B, Post-Combat Assessment and Future Deterrence Agreement. Failure to complete this document within 5 standard cycles will result in immediate enforcement action. Attached was yet another human document, this one beginning with the ominous words, "The undersigned hereby acknowledges complete military defeat and agrees to the following terms of surrender." 1 week later, Rebecca found herself in the unusual position of processing the official surrender of the most feared conquering force in the galaxy. "Let me get this straight," she said, gazing at the Reklar delegation across the conference table. "You're agreeing to withdraw from all occupied territories, pay reparations to the affected species, and confine your activities to your original home system, all because we asked you to fill out some forms?" The Reklar representative, a slightly smaller, less intimidating version of the warriors they'd encountered, clicked his mandibles nervously. "The Supreme Commander has determined that expansion into human-protected sectors is inefficient," the translator rendered his screeching reply. "Your species' capacity for administrative complications exceeds our strategic patience." Rebecca exchanged amused glances with Milo, who was diligently recording the proceedings. "Well, we do pride ourselves on our thoroughness," she offered diplomatically. "Your death speakers require 17 separate authorizations before launching a counterattack," the Reklar observed with what sounded like horrified admiration. "Yet when you finally act, entire fleets vanish. It is unsettling." "Death speakers," Milo whispered. "I think he means lawyers," Rebecca whispered back. General Foster, who had been silently observing, leaned forward. "For clarity, this agreement extends to all species currently under Earth protection, as well as our allies listed in Appendix C." "Yes." The Reklar representative's compound eyes darted between the humans nervously. "Though we request modification to paragraph 27 regarding immediate withdrawal timelines. Some occupied worlds will require longer to evacuate without destructive environmental impact." "A reasonable request," Foster nodded. "We can adjust the schedule, provided you accept regular compliance inspections." "This is acceptable." The Viklar hesitated, then added, "There is a question our Supreme Commander wishes me to convey." "Go ahead." "Why did you not respond to the galactic distress signals earlier? Your inaction allowed our conquest to proceed for many cycles." Rebecca felt her face grow hot. "There was a communication oversight. Our response protocols have since been updated." The Reklar seemed to consider this. "So you were neither afraid nor indifferent. You were processing paperwork." "Something like that," Foster confirmed with remarkable composure. "Terrifying," the Vilar muttered, barely loud enough for the translator to catch. After the delegation departed to communicate the terms to their fleet, Blackwood materialized from the shadows at the back of the conference room. "And that," he announced with obvious satisfaction, "is how humanity accidentally discovered the galaxy's most effective psychological warfare tactic against the Vlar bureaucracy." 6 months later, Rebecca found herself promoted to Director of Interspecies Crisis Response with a significantly expanded staff and a brand new priority flagging system for the message queue. "Incoming transmission from the Cloroxian High Command," her assistant called out. "Admiral Clox requests a personal audience." "Put him through," Rebecca nodded, straightening her newly issued diplomatic uniform. The Admiral's insectoid face appeared on the main screen, mandibles arranged in what she'd learned to recognize as the Cloroxian equivalent of a smile. "Director Walsh," he clicked respectfully, "the Galactic Council has been officially reinstated today. The last of the Reklar occupation forces have withdrawn from Quilaxian territory." "That's excellent news, Admiral." "Indeed. And in recognition of Earth's decisive role in ending the Velar threat, the Council has voted unanimously to offer humanity a permanent seat." Clox's compound eyes gleamed with what might have been amusement. Though they do request that Earth representatives arrive punctually for council sessions, Rebecca laughed. We'll do our best, Admiral. After ending the transmission, she turned to find Milo standing in her office doorway holding a data tablet. So, he grinned, should I prepare the acceptance forms for the council invitation? Absolutely, in triplicate, of course. Of course. Milo hesitated. Have you heard from Blackwood lately? The collective is busy helping the Qualaxians rebuild. Apparently they're turning quite a profit on Vlar salvage. Rebecca smiled. He did send me this, though. She pulled up an image on her screen, a captured Reklar ship now repurposed as a collective patrol vessel. Emblazoned on its hull was a new insignia, Earth's traditional olive branches surrounding a clipboard and pen. Is that humanity's new galactic symbol? Rebecca confirmed. Apparently word has spread about how we defeated the Reklar. The clipboard is now more feared than any weapon. Milo burst out laughing. If only my old high school guidance counselor could see me now. Administrative skills will never save the world, she said. Little did she know, Rebecca agreed, turning to gaze out her office window at the stars. Little did any of us know. In the depths of space, aboard a solitary vessel on the very edge of the Milky Way, Supreme Commander Vrakor reviewed the final surrender documentation. Each page required his biological signature, a humiliating concession to human procedural obsessions. His second-in-command approached cautiously. The last transport has departed Qualaxian space, Supreme One. Our species is now confined to the home system, as agreed. Vrakor's claws tightened around the data tablet. For now, Supreme One, the humans believe they have defeated us with their forms and regulations, Vrakor hissed. But they have merely taught us a valuable lesson. He pulled up a new document on his screen, a perfect replica of an Earth administrative template but filled with Velar text. If bureaucracy is the human's greatest weapon, he clicked, then we shall master it ourselves. Begin the implementation of Project Administrative Dominance immediately. His subordinate's antenna twitched uncertainly. You intend to outpaper the humans? Precisely. Vrakor's compound eyes gleamed with malevolent determination. Let them drown in requisition forms and compliance reports. In 50 cycles, when they are sufficiently distracted by regulatory procedures, we shall return. A most insidious strategy, Supreme One. Indeed, Vrakor turned to gaze at the distant stars. But first we must complete their surrender documentation, exactly as specified, down to the last comma. The commander picked up a stylus and began meticulously signing each page, muttering to himself, Know your enemy, become your enemy, defeat your enemy. Somewhere in the vast bureaucratic labyrinth of Earth's extraterrestrial response unit, a new priority message appeared in the system, promptly categorized, flagged, and filed for appropriate action. Alert. Unusual administrative activity detected in Verlar communication patterns, possible cultural assimilation of bureaucratic processes. Recommended response, Form 7734D. And in her office, Director Rebecca Walsh smiled as she opened the notification. This time they'd be ready. The end.